Hello buddies, welcome to Mordheim, City of the Damned. My name is Game Knight. Let's meet the Cult of the Possessed. In the aftermath of the destruction of Mordheim, all manner of mutants have appeared who now band together with the followers of the Cults of Chaos. They join a new leader who is claiming ownership of the City of the Damned. He calls himself the Shadow Lord. In reality, the Shadow Lord is a mighty demon prince named Be'lakor, who tried to leave his cursed prison that Tzeentch had placed him in centuries past. In doing so, he fell into Mordheim, causing the destruction. He possessed the ever-chosen Caradun the Gloried and tried to leave Mordheim, only to find that he is bound to the city. He now uses the Cult of the Possessed to bring him Wordstone, which is keeping his body alive. Meanwhile, his trusted lieutenant Murga tries to find a way to break him free from the city. In return, he grants anyone who assists him great power. The warband consists of the following warriors, and all suggested builds are in the description below. The warband's dramatis persona is Murga Ottweiler. Murga was sent to Mordheim on behalf of the Purple Hand to investigate the city. Both they and Murga are worshippers of the god of change, Tzeentch. After arriving in the city, she started to feel the Shadow Lord's presence and have now sworn allegiance to him. In return, he has blessed her with many powers and wondrous change. She sees what happens to Mordheim as a liberation and the path to freedom. True chaos. She wields a staff which helps her not only when harnessing the arcane powers, but also when striking her enemies. Alternatively, she can choose to switch to a sword to have a better chance of dodging enemy attacks, but in return of lower damage. She wears a golden armor that lends great protection against physical attacks. It does, however, prevent her spellcasting chance a bit. Trying to harness the arcane powers is never without danger, and while Murga isn't barred from getting struck by Tzeentch's curse, she is very devoted, and in return the chance is lowered. Murga is a fearless individual, which makes her unwavering. She fears nothing but the wrath of the Shadow Lord. This force of will makes her very resistant to stuns, and her devotion to Tzeentch has resulted in great increase to her magic resistance. The first spells Murga has access to are meant to wreak pain in the enemies around her and to chain them so that their attacks are harder to perform. Later you will gain access to even more spells and skills, as you can see here to the left. Her role is to be an offensive damage dealer, staying behind the frontline fighters while enhancing their damage potential as well. She is also very good at tying down enemy heroes, leaders and impressives with her debuff spell. What really sets the Cult of the Possessed apart from the others is the mutations granted by the God of Change. Certain members of the warband, the Mutant, Marauder, Possessed and Chaos Spawn, are blessed with mutations at rank 1, 4 and 7. These mutations are given at random and are split into 6 different categories. Arm mutations are mutations that target the warrior's arms, or sometimes even grows an extra arm if that arm was cut off in battle. This mutation is the only category that can be gained several times. These mutations function like weapons and give different bonuses accordingly. On top of that, they each also apply a unique poison that reduces the resistance, armor or damage of the enemy hit. Extra arms can only appear on the Possessed or Chaos Spawn, but if one is grown, damage output is increased and additional bonuses apply. Any arm mutation damage is determined by the armband's equipment, which means that attacks from a mutated arm bypasses parry. If you only have one mutated arm and you're using a normal weapon in the other hand, well, you will still bypass parry. Torso mutations can either be the eye or the Thousand Eyes, which both prevent the use of any armor but clothing. The first makes the warrior act more quickly and makes him more resilient towards critical hits, while the latter makes the warrior able to resist incoming attacks. Head mutations will make the warrior unable to use helmets, but in return add bonuses to the warrior's morale and stun resistance with the Crown of Bones, or grant increased resistances against Wordstone and enemy attacks with the Wordstone Horns. Face mutations consist of the featureless face that makes perception free and easier to perform, the Demon Soul, which makes the warrior immune to all alone and increases his magic resistance, and lastly, the extra face that increases the warrior's dodge and parry capabilities. Feet mutations are currently limited to the claw foot, or commonly known as chicken legs. This mutation increases the movement of the warrior and his ability to perform athletic maneuvers. At the core of every Cult of the Possessed warband is the Magister. The Magister's only goal in this world is to serve the Shadow Lord and gain his favor, and the power such favor brings. The Magister is able to wield a wide variety of weapons, but is usually equipped with a staff to make casting spells easier. He can be used as an offensive character though, by equipping a great weapon for instance. His ability to use bows as well as melee weapons makes him very versatile. He is even able to equip any sort of armor, but do prefer his cloth armor as this doesn't interfere with his ability to cast spells. Passive starting ability makes him able to cast spells at a reduced cost after dealing melee damage, so building on that can be beneficial. His starting spell is very useful to melee warriors as well and can be cast on the Magister himself. The rest of his spells arsenal is mostly based on damage dealing or debuffing the enemy, as you can see here on the left. The primary role of the Magister is to be a spellcaster, but it is possible to build a melee offensive character that can be very useful. Your first hero, the Mutants, have had their bodies and minds perverted by the touch of chaos. Hated by man, they have found a refuge in Mordheim. The Cult of the Possessed welcomes them with open arms, seeing their afflictions as rewards from the dark gods. Being able to equip many different combinations of arms, the Mutant can fill almost any role. They do tend to use melee weaponry as they can lose the ability to carry a bow due to arm mutations. They are able to equip any type of armor that suits their role the best, but also armor can be restricted due to mutations. The Mutants are touched by the Shadow Lord, which increases their chance of critically hitting enemies after picking up Wordstone for a short period. Wait for the mutations before determining the role of your mutant, but mostly you'll want to go down the melee DPS or tank path with them. The second hero is the Marauder. They come from the tribes of the Norskans and Kurgan of the far north and are barbaric warlike men who openly worship the dark gods. These bloodthirsty warriors feel right at home in Mordheim and wield axes, swords and other sharp weaponry. They are able to equip light armor and helmets if they do not get mutated. Otherwise, they'll don cloth instead. They can also use shields, but they will lose the ability to carry one if their left arm gets mutated. These warriors are filled with blood rage and will fight until the death. They often initiate combat by performing a vicious charge that makes them able to keep up the momentum and deal even more damage on consecutive attacks. Their primary role is to deal damage, of course, but mostly you'll want to focus on a charge damage build to utilize their passive ability. The third and final hero is guilty of the ultimate blasphemy. The Possessed are men who have freely given their bodies over to demons. They become hulking beasts with minds part mortal and part demon. Their equipment options are very limited, but any attacks made by the Possessed bypasses parry from the beginning. They are already horribly mutated and cannot fit into any type of armor but a pair of ragged cloth pants. As they progress through ranks, they will mutate even further. These warriors are fearless and will fight with the vigor of a demon. They cannot be scared into submission by anything. In return, these creatures cause fear amongst their enemies and have a chance of reducing their ability to strike true. The primary role of the Possessed is to be a glass cannon. They don't have very good defensive capabilities, but they can break apart parry tanks. Rarely does a demon find a host so suitable as to become a Possessed. More often, the demon has to abandon its host, leaving the mortal scarred in mind and spirit. These men become Dark Souls, maddened by their experience and endowed with the ferocious strength of the insane. They can wield any type of melee weapon, which makes them very versatile, but they often rely on their great weapons the most. These warriors wear helmets and armor that resembles demons to make up for being rejected and to show their true nature. They will always fight to the end, and the Dark Souls bring their crazed fury against all who defy the cult. Their primary roles are to debilitate the enemy or to bring pure DPS to the fight. The mortal followers of the dark gods, the Brethren, eagerly seeks out the rewards of damnation. To descend into the inner mysteries of their obscene faith, there is no act too unspeakable for the Brethren. They wield arms that can cut a man in half, but do lack the strength of their fellow Dark Souls. What they lack in strength, they make up for with their ranged abilities. They can don any type of armor that is befitting of their role. The Brethren is very adept at hiding in the shadows, just lurking and waiting to strike. As a result, they gain increased chances to hit with ranged weapons when overwatching. The primary role of the Brethren is to be a ranged DPS, but can be used as a melee warrior that overwatches before entering into melee. These spawns are behemoths of mutated flesh and bone, grafted from those whose minds and bodies have been destroyed by chaos. Their equipment options are limited, but their attacks will always bypass parry, and since fitting a chaos spawn into a leather armor would be tricky, they wear scraps of cloth instead, which in return does improve their best defensive capability, dodge. The chaos spawn is a large creature, and this makes him very resilient towards enemy attacks, but also provides enemy archers with a very juicy target. Being as strong as he does not tire and is immune to any poison effect. These creatures will always fight until their last breath, and this burning rage makes them unable to use items or interact with their surroundings. In return, they are unwavering when facing the enemy and will not falter. As they are from the Chaos realm, they cannot be injured as mortal beings. Instead, there's a chance that if they are taken out, they will return to the realm they came from. Its often horrifically mutated appearance makes them a terrifying enemy to behold, and can greatly diminish the enemy's ability to attack and move. The primary role of the Chaos Spawn is to deal as much damage as possible. His starting stats encourage a critical strike build, but he can become somewhat of a soft target. The Warband's unique active skills seek to rehabilitate the enemy by reducing their ability to perform athletic tests with touch of palsy, or making them follow a lure away from your warriors, effectively causing them to flee engagements. Blood Offering offers a way to increase the damage output of your warriors. Their passive abilities are focused on recovering lost strategy or offensive points, making them able to move further with Chaos Evolution or retaliate against enemy attacks with chaotic advantage. Fiend's Warding is an extra way to increase resistance towards magic. The Cult of the Possessed Warband is a very versatile warband. Mutations makes for really strong melee heroes like the Marauder, and the warband generally ignores parry a lot. One of their pros are also one of their cons. As mutations are granted at random, they can really mess up a build. Their henchmen are a bit flawed, with the Dark Souls not being able to disengage and the Brethren having really low strength. You don't really have a powerful henchman. They also have a very fragile hero, the Possessed. His defensive capabilities are very weak, and if he isn't protected, well, he'll go down really fast. DLC hired swords are available that are destruction aligned. For example, the Skaven Plague Wind Globadier, who can be made into a great healer and ranged warrior, and assist the warband with poison globes that the Chaos Spawn can fight amidst. Or the Doomweaver, which is a caster that seeks to set off area effect, Fiend's curses, and is a great melee combatant at the same time. He pairs up very well with the Magister as he can reduce the cost of his spells with his totems. If you want to see some gameplay of this warband in action, check out my campaign playthrough in the Cult of the Possessed Monday Night Mordheim series, or my Deadly Challenge with the Deadly Rodders, where I only do deadly difficulty missions. Should have gone to the side with him as well. 24. And now he gets shot. Oh, insult. Winter's Chill failed. And another Overwatch. Cool, guys. 85. Come on, dude. Good. And no... Mind numb. No spell casting. Okay. That's fine. Lot of 80s missing tonight. Take a dodge. Thanks for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed sharing this experience with me. If you did, leave me a like and a comment down below. It's very much appreciated. Also, if you haven't already, remember to subscribe by joining the Nightly Buddyhood today. If you want to connect with me, you can check out my Twitch channel where I live stream every Thursday from 8 PM GMT. You can also follow me on Facebook or Twitter, or join me in the Nightly Buddyhood Steam group. People have been asking me how they can support my work, and I've made a video describing some options like Patreon, StreamTip and TAD. Any way you want to show your support is very much appreciated. If you want to check out some of the other content I've made a little preview for you on the right with a link to my playlist section. Have a wonderful game night, cheers and stay cool. Action then warp out. Imperial ships, 400 points. We don't have our biggest ship. Hippie crap. Come on, buddy. Crit. Crit. Yes! No! Bloody freaking 1 hit point. You're in even spec to counter.
A new round has started.
Oh God, we see the 63 over there. Okay.